Good evening, everybody. From Brampton Resident Matter, I welcome everyone and the candidates of Ward 3 and 4 for Regional Council. There are a few rules which are already in front of you. Everyone will be given 5 questions in sequence. We'll go by. There will be first 2 minutes introduction. After 1 minute 30 seconds, we'll have 1 bell. That means you have 30 seconds left to wrap up. In the last, after the question, you'll be given 1 minute for your close-up remarks. And the first question, first I will go with introduction. We'll start with Steve.
Thank you. My name is Steve Kavanagh, and I am running for Regional Council, Brampton Wards 3 and 4. For the last 16 years, I've been the Peel District School Board trustee for Ward 4, elected 5 straight times. I have experience. My platform, I believe that Brampton needs all day, 7 day a week, GO transit. We all watched as all the bridges were rebuilt in Brampton because the provincial government promised all day GO transit. Well, CN Rail thanks everybody because they're using the capacity because Metrolinx isn't doing the job. As regional councillor, I will chase Metrolinx until the job is done. The LRT. Let's talk about that. I like the concept. I really don't like the route. In fact, the more I think about it, the more I think we don't need to connect to Mississauga through an LRT. We need to connect to the TTC subway on the Spadina line at York University or in Vaughan. That's where people want to go. They don't want to go down to square one in Mississauga, quite frankly. Transparency. I'm thrifty. Ask anyone on the board. I'm the cheapskate. I'm the one that saves money. I have the lowest expenses. I will report my expenses, whether the city requires it or not, whether the region requires it or not, and I will post my expenses so that everyone can see how I'm spending. Accountability. I will be accountable to everyone in the Wards 3 and 4 and region-wide, quite frankly, because it's more than just Wards 3 and 4. But in Wards 3 and 4, I will hold quarterly meetings, and I will continue door knocking to take issues to the people so that I can inform some of the decisions I will have to make. Traffic congestion, everyone knows about traffic congestion. We need to bring smart traffic light systems into Brampton, and we also, thank you.
Over to John. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. My name is John Raymond Grant. I'm also running for Region Council in Wards 3 and 4. A little bit about myself. I've worked in Brampton for well over 20 years. I've only lived actually in Brampton for one year at this point in time. However, I do live in the ward that I am running in. A little bit more about me. I'm running really to represent the silent majority, the people that traditionally don't speak out during an election. Mainly because they're just fed up with how our politicians and would-be politicians are behaving. The amount of corruption, the amount of non-transparent deals that are going on in government in all levels now has to change. I'd like to use what I've learned in my 30-year plus career in transportation, logistics, and manufacturing. Bring those principles to City Hall and lean things out, make things more efficient. And I'd like to talk a little bit about my main focus, which is to change the direction that the region of Peel is going with its solid waste treatment. Currently, we are sending all of our waste into a landfill, and I firmly believe that has to stop immediately. We have to stop the region from building a larger incinerator. I'd like to bring new technology, leading-edge technology to Brampton, and by doing so, bring new revenue into the city by bringing other municipalities' waste to these facilities, and these facilities are called plasma arc gasification. Have a look at my website and see if you agree with what I am saying. It's www.votejohngrant.com. Thank you kindly.
Thanks, John. Bob, your turn.
Thank you. My name is Robert Lackey. I'm born in Toronto, educated in University of Toronto, working in Brampton for the last 40 years, living in Brampton, living with Brampton, solving problems in Brampton. We had one big problem in Brampton was place of worship bylaw, and people were concerned about places of worship, and it affected everybody. They came out with some draft bylaws. I see some people in the audience that are well aware of it. And what they did there is they were affecting where places of worship could be located and restricting them. And the Faith Alliance was formed, which included all of the religions, including the Christians, the Salvation Army, the Sikhs, the Muslims, the Jews. Every group was represented, and we worked on the bylaw and solved the problems, and everybody was happy and withdrew from that, and withdrew their objection, and the bylaw went through. We also have, of course, other things coming up with the hospital. We've got a hospital site. We don't have a full hospital there yet, but that's another one of the things we want to work on, and thank you for the time.
Thanks, Bob. Martin?
Hi, my name is Martin Medeiros. I was born in Peel Memorial Hospital. I currently am an employee of the Ontario government. I've worked there the last just over 10 years, approximately 11 years. Previously, I worked for the United Nations, worked for the European Union, lived abroad for approximately just under 7 years. Essentially, why I decided to run. I've been affected negatively about Brampton's decline, notwithstanding what's been happening at City Hall with all the shenanigans there. But effectively, a lot of family and relatives have lost their jobs in the last several years due to our economic downturn and jobs leaving Brampton. My parents used to work at Simmons Mattress for over 40 years. They lost their jobs. My friends and family worked at SKD, other good manufacturing jobs. Also, working downtown Toronto in the Ontario government, my kids, attend a public school in Brampton. Essentially, by the time I get home, I don't have time to be with them at night. So effectively, I'm putting them to bed. I hardly see them during the week, and I have to do all my activities on the weekend. So I've experienced Brampton's decline on a personal basis, and it's bothered me. And just finally, what I found are politics these days. I found that when people are doing politics, candidates, people are effectively trying to use one group against another group. No one wants to represent all Bramptonians anymore. Effectively, I've experienced type of politics, just even door knocking, which doesn't make me proud. And I really want to represent a new voice to Brampton. I want to represent a new generation. And, I got to say thank you for everybody who's made their contribution previously in politics, but it's time to really look at a new, fresh voice. I present this, I represent a new generation, but at the same time, I respect, our values and the way we treat our seniors, the way we treat our youth. So, for example, when it comes to seniors, I will protect the $1 fare. I've heard rumors about getting rid of the $1 fare. I think that's something that should be protected. For youth, I think we have to invest in programs for youth. But effectively, there's a lot of work, but one of the first things that we have to work on for the City of Brampton is restore our reputation. It's bad business if we have a bad name. It's bad business if people don't believe in the Brampton brand. So I'm going to introduce 2 accountability measures, which I think will be strong, will be efficient, which really will speak to the issues at the City of Brampton. So one is online expenses, so you'll know exactly what your councillor is spending. It'll be available, it'll be transparent, and you'll be able to see what time they're spending. And just second, the Lobbyist Registration Act. We want to know who's effectively lobbying our folks and who our politicians are
Over
speaking
to
to.
Garnet, please.
Thank you. My name is Garnet Manning. I live in Brampton for over 25 years, 13 years in Wards 3, and I'm truly excited to be here. The region of Peel and the city of Brampton is experiencing increasing complex challenges. And so what we need at this point in time, let me just go through what a regional councillor does. The regional councillor position is one that is twofold. It entails being a city councillor, 100% a city councillor, who is responsible to deal with the issues of the 5 major departments of the city. As a former city councillor, I will hit the ground running, having an experience in City Hall with a track record of getting the job done. So with the challenge of uncontrolled growth, rising infrastructure costs, young families and seniors at risk of being taxed out of their homes, escalating youth violence, and a decline in trust and confidence in City Hall, we cannot afford on-the-job training. We need experience. Wards 3 and 4 today is void of its leaders. With the retirement of people like Bob Callan, John Sanderson, we will have certainly fresh faces. It is much too complex a ward to count on someone with job training. So that's why I decided to run in this ward.
Thanks, Garnet. Thanks, Garnet. First question goes to John. Why are you running for regional council? What's your reason for Brampton?
Well, as I stated in my opening remarks, I decided to run directly for region because I'm not happy with what is happening with our current regional plan to handle the entire region's solid municipal waste. Right now, as I said, we are sending all of our garbage into a landfill outside of London. To me, this is totally unacceptable. The plan right now that is in place, they're going to build an incinerator a few times the size of the current Algonquin power plant. And again, this is not necessarily, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people's opinion, the most efficient way to handle our municipal waste. We have an opportunity to bring in newer, better technology. Currently, they're building one of these plants out in Ottawa right now. The City of Ottawa is going to be saving $250 million with their waste program over the next 20 years. I'm sure that Brampton would love to be able to do that. Not only could we save money by bringing in one of these plants, but if we build 3 of them, we can bring in other municipalities' waste, bringing in much-needed revenue, which I don't hear anybody else talking about, much-needed revenue into the city, which we desperately need because we know the development money is going to be running out soon. So where are we going to go for the money? Come to you, to the taxpayers? I don't want to see that. We need that revenue to keep our infrastructure being built. 30 seconds, I can close by saying, once we have the plants up and running and bringing in revenue, that will allow us to lower our hydro rates as well. One of these plants alone produces enough electricity to power 68,000 homes. We can lower our hydro rates, okay, bringing in and bringing back manufacturing jobs to Brampton that we so desperately need, okay? The kids that are coming out of school with the engineering degrees, et cetera, they all need these businesses.
Thanks, John. Bob, your turn.
Same question?
Yep, same question. We'll go around the whole, all 5 of you. I can repeat the question for you.
It was a while ago.
Oh, sorry, that's okay. Why are you running for regional council?
Oh, yeah.
What's your reason for Brampton?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks very much for the question. I'm running, we had some issues with tax dollars. How is the taxpayer getting value for his money? Because taxpayer worked hard for that money, and some of it might not be going exactly where it should go. And so I want to, that would be at the top of my agenda. I have other things. There's a hospital site, Peel Memorial Hospital. Martin was born there. Good, one good thing about it, and it's gone. They're replacing it with a long-term care, but I'm hoping that there'll be a full care, including the doctor's hospital that used to be there, and it worked well. And we could reinstate it, and people wouldn't have to wait so long because they go with their doctor and they get admitted right away. The other thing that we could do to add some pizzazz to Brampton and make it more attractive to high-paying jobs would be university. We have potential to expand the existing community college to include a university, or we could start with a brand-new university.
You still have 30 seconds.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Bob. Martin, your turn.
Hi. So again, the decline of Brampton has been a major concern for me. It's interesting when we talk about experienced politicians. We've had an experienced council which got us into this mess. We're in a situation now where I think we need people who are competent, people who have the education and the experience, especially when you look at what's happening with the Peel region and our underfunding. So there's a fair share campaign. Folks here at the table have been part of that campaign. So we're still underfunded. So their effectiveness, they have not been effective in addressing the issue. So have they worked with the province? Have they worked with the feds? So what we need is a fresh new vision, a fresh approach. People who are competent, who understand the processes, who can go to the provincial government and understand exactly how we tackle the issue, who can go to the federal government and exactly know how we tackle the issue, who have credibility because they've worked in ministries, they've worked how the processes, they understand the issues are of concern to Brampton. So this is what is crucial right now, is that we need people who are competent. We don't need experienced politicians anymore because it got us into this mess where we're at. So effectively, in terms of why I want to run, is essentially looking around and understanding what is at stake here. You know, my passion and my love for the city is without a doubt, and why I've decided to, you know, interrupt my career, take away time from my precious kids and from my family to make my contribution to the city I love and I was born in. So I think that is critical. So other measures that why I want to run. So for example, when I meet with seniors, I've heard a lot from seniors. They don't have spaces for them to be able to meet. You know, seniors groups, they in other cities, they get free access. They get telephones, they get rooms, they get opportunities to socialize. They feel that they're a significant part of society. And sometimes here in Brampton, I listen to many seniors complain they don't have opportunity, they don't have spaces, they don't have the right supports. So these are one of the things I'd really like to concentrate on. Thank you.
Thanks, Martin. Garrett, your turn.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I'm extremely passionate about my city, the city of Brampton. I've lived here for over 25 years. I always have had a clear vision for the city of Brampton, and my platform is based on 3 priorities. So when the question is asked, what will we be doing, why am I running for regional councillor, the fact of the matter is that whether you're at the region or the city, you're serving the same people. Different form of services, but you're serving the same people. So I speak to what I call a clear vision for the region of Peel and the city of Brampton. And the C in my clear, it's CLER. I've configured this into an acronym so it can be clear. CLER is committed to the people, because a city and a region is about its people. It's about their collective and personal welfare. And we have to put the main thing back where the main thing is, and that's our people, and their voices have to be heard. And I believe what we have seen over the years is that the people are shut out of the process. Then we talk about leading a strong economic development plan through balanced growth, so we can shift Brampton and the region from being a bedroom community to a strong, vibrant economic hub, where people in the region, people in Brampton can find good jobs here in the city of Brampton. Our youth, engaging our youth, they're our future. In the region of Peel right now, over 1/3 of the population are young people under the age of 25. We need to take a keen look on our young people. And number 4, in my platform, is what I called addressing property taxes. We're simply paying too much, and we need to get to the root of why we're paying so much. Not just talking about it, but we need to address that issue here in the city of Brampton and the region of Peel.
Thanks, Garnet. Over to Steve.
Yes, thank you. Why am I running for a regional council seat? Well, essentially it comes down to, quite frankly, the waste of our money. Now, the city and the region do a lot of good work, and they don't waste money on everything. But you've seen from council expenses, you've seen from the example of Chinguacousy Road, which was 4 lanes, and then 6 years ago they made it 6 lanes, and then we ripped it up again, and we moved the curbs, we widened the railroad bridge, and we rebuilt all the sidewalks again to make it 7 and 8 lanes so that more cars could be contained within the road. That's the city component. The regional part is the south end, Mavis. Mavis between Steeles and the 407 is a regional road. And they've had plenty of time to do that job, and it's still not being done properly. And the contractor isn't being supervised properly, and that contractor has ripped out the sidewalks so nobody can get through that area. Nobody can get through that area. That's wasting your tax dollars and my tax dollars. Every year we see on our streets, contractors come through, the same construction companies. They may be favored, I don't know, but I want to find out if they're favored. But they come through and they start digging up the curbs and doing all kinds of work that most people, when we look at them, we go, why are they digging that up? It doesn't need to be replaced. Concrete should last 25 years, not 3 and 4 years. What's wrong with this? Sewers and water. Now that's a regional responsibility. Well, there's constant projects going on. Some of it is for our own good because we're growing. But you know, we're still pumping water out of Lake Ontario as a region and selling it to York region. So we're selling it to our competitor. We're feeding our competitor. We should have spent all that money. Where's the dividends from all that money? Why are we still putting more tax dollars into sewers and water lines? It should be paid for by, frankly, the dividends from York region.
Thanks, Steve. Second question goes to Bob. Bramptonians were promised a new hospital earlier with integrated center, ambulatory care center. Oh, sorry, my question goes, I missed something in it. We were promised a new hospital, but now we are getting only integrated center here on Central Street. I believe we are all aware of that. What are your views on that?
The hospital, are we talking about the hospital?
The
on
old
John
hospital
Street?
place, like now they are building only, like we were promised second hospital,
Yeah,
and now we don't have enough beds in the new one, but we are only getting ambulatory care on the old place.
yeah.
And we need one hospital, but we are only getting this. What are your views on that?
Yeah, I have a strong view on that. Just wanted to clarify the question, make sure I wasn't going off
There's
in the
a-
wrong direction. Yeah, I'm really interested in the hospital. I think we deserve it. We are 500,000 plus population with one hospital. Most of the other municipalities this size have 2 or 3. We deserve at least one more. We have a good site. It's a beautiful site there. The Peel Memorial Hospital worked well. It was a doctor's hospital. If you got sick, you went with your doctor, and they let you in right away. You didn't have to wait. And I have personal experience when I ripped my foot off the bottom of my leg, and the doctor took me in. I was on emergency bypass, but the doctor, in those days, the doctor could get you through, and so it did work. It was a good hospital, and we can rebuild it, and we can get it going again, and that's what I believe. And thanks for the question.
Welcome, Bob. Goes to Martin.
Yeah. So again, there's another example of, I guess, the ineffectiveness of our current leaders. You know, certainly with the population growth we've had in Brampton, that should have been a full functioning hospital. Especially with our population growth, especially with the needs of the city, the overcrowdedness of our current hospital. It's, you know, not acceptable, the current state of our healthcare in the city of Brampton, in the Peel region. It's another example of the ineffectiveness of people who have been there. And how do we address these issues? Well, one of the first things that we have to have is really look at, you know, a strategic plan, and the strategic plan has to really be developed in cohesiveness with your new mayor, with your fellow council colleagues. And to get into the complexity of, it's not simply just throwing out terms saying that we're going to do this, we're going to do that. there has to be a real strategic plan for a 5, 10, 15-year period so that it's not constantly these little measures and infighting. So after 4 years, we're back to square one. There really has to be people who can understand and put together. First thing we have to do is straighten out a budget. Second thing we have to come up with, how are we going to work? Because there's a lot of the responsibilities are not just of the city, not just of the region, in this case also with the province. And how do we develop these relationships? How do we develop a framework so that we can address all these host of issues? There's not one specific issues. In healthcare, situation in the hospital, it's just another example how we drop the ball constantly. So you really need people who can understand, who can really bring into the vision, and who will work with the mayor and work with the fellow council members to really come up with a strategic plan that makes sense for Brampton, makes sense for the region of Peel, which is going to improve your quality of life, your families, as it will improve my families. Thank you.
Thanks, Martin. Garnet?
This whole issue is really about dropping the ball, but it's mainly the ability to forge relationship. Most of the answers here really miss the main point. The city of Brampton cannot bring an hospital to Brampton. This is a regional issue. This is a provincial issue. And we need leadership who can build strong relationship with our provincial counterpart. And what we've had over the years are confrontational leadership, picking a fight. We get nowhere there. And so what we see is that our city is disadvantaged because we have people who talk at individual as opposed to build relationship. We drop the ball in the hospital because there's a lack of ability to build consensus and to allow things to happen. Because as I said before, it's not going to happen at this level. No matter how we come together as mayors and council, unless you have leadership who can build relationship with other levels of government, it will not happen for Brampton. That's what I'm about. The Brampton Soccer Center today, which is a symbol of a paradigm shift in the recreation parks and sport program of Brampton, was orchestrated and initiated by me. And that's an ability to build and change something that was going to happen, to build a facility that is serving the city 24/7. That is the experience that I bring to the table. I'm ready for the region of Peel. Thank you.
Thanks, Garnet. Steve?
Yes, thank you. I came to Brampton originally to work at Peel Memorial Hospital, and I did work at Peel Memorial Hospital. I saw them build a new wing. I was part of that team that built that new wing, and I must tell you, I was quite sad to see it leveled to the ground. It was a wonderful place to work, despite its shortcomings as a functioning building. The new Peel Memorial Center for Integrated Health and Wellness, I think that's the title they gave it,
Yep.
will be a useful place for us. But it's not going to serve the city like we think a second hospital would serve the city. As your regional councillor, I will work on planning with the Central West LIN, with the provincial representatives, and with the rest of city and regional council on getting the planning started for the third healthcare facility in this city, because that's what we need. They've said this will not be a full hospital. I really do doubt that it won't stay the way it is. It will end up having an emergency department at some point. There's no question in my mind. But we can't wait until Brampton Civic Hospital is so choked, and it's pretty choked now, but it's so choked that it can't work. We can't wait until PMH, and I'll call it PMH, is rebuilt. And we have to continue to work for the third hospital, and I am committed, as someone who had spent 17 years at the old PMH, to see that there's a third hospital in Brampton. And I'm prepared to do that talk and lead that discussion. And it needs to be a discussion, a dialogue, not a fight. Other cities our size, they have lots of hospitals, lots of healthcare, lots of options. You're not driving across 18 concessions.
Thanks, Steve. John, your turn.
Well, thank you. I have to say that what I've heard so far is there are some very good ideas going forward, and as far as what we need to do for healthcare in Peel Region. And I certainly agree with the fact that we need a third full-size functioning hospital here in Brampton, just based on our population density. The integrated center that's being built will be highly effective, especially in the area where it is being built. There are a large number of seniors that will be using the facility to come in for day trips, day surgeries, et cetera, et cetera. Again, in as far as building the third hospital is concerned, though, it always comes down to, well, where are we going to get the money? Where are we going to get the funding? So again, as Martin pointed out, speaking with all the various levels of government is obviously very important, but I would like to go in there in not so much a position of strength, but saying, okay, well, Brampton has this amount of money to spend because we've actually gone ahead and taken care of another part of our region's problems, bringing in new revenues into the city, having the money to say, hey, you know what, we can afford to do this particular project. Ottawa and the province of Ontario, do you want to come along? Please help us out if you can. If not, I think we can stand on our own 2 feet and do a lot of the city projects on our own, just using the strengths and the abilities of the people that live in Brampton. A lot of talent is going sorely to waste, and certainly building these three plasma facilities and bringing in new revenue, lowering our hydro rates, that's what we have to do for the future of Brampton. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Third question goes to Martin. What are your 3 most important concerns for Brampton?
Well, one thing I got to recognize in terms of accountability, it's funny that there's only 5 candidates here and there's 14 running. So I think that speaks volumes in terms of accountability. But effectively, first thing is the reputation of the city. We know we have to build the confidence again in the city. So that's a first measure. And how do we build confidence? Again, accountability measures. I propose 2 measures. One is online expenses of councillors, and second is the Lobbyist Registration Act. Essentially, I think we have a right to understand who's lobbying and lobbying is not a negative term because there are important groups out there such as poverty groups who have to educate our councillors. So I don't want to have a misconception of what lobbying is. It's just important, I think, to build that transparency. City of Ottawa is doing it, City of Toronto is doing it, so I think Brampton has to follow along. Second thing is job creation. So it's not just looking at our land, and we've developed Brampton considerably. We have approximately 15 to 20% land left still to develop. So we should try to maintain those for employment lands. So commercial and have mixed, and ensure that before we get into residential development, before we get into commercial, that we really look at the infrastructure need of the areas we plan on developing, but try to really look at as using it for employment lands, so creating jobs. So I think the third thing too, one thing I've always heard throughout this election and throughout the campaign is, attracting new investment. And this is great. Attracting new investment is excellent. But let me tell you, new investment's not going to come in if they see businesses who are currently here suffering. So businesses who are here already, they need the supports that we need to provide them. So, a new business is not going to come in knowing that their competitor is suffering. Why are they going to come here? So we have to take care of our small businesses, small and medium-sized businesses first, before we start, at the same time, concentrating on attracting new investment. So I think, thank you.
Thanks. Over to Garnet.
3 things of my 5 priorities that I'm just going to mention: the economic development plan, youth engagement and seniors, and restoration of trust and confidence back in our local government. So let me quickly talk about economic development. Again, that's something I'm concerned about. The live-work ratio in the city of Brampton is much too imbalanced. And we know that just a very small percentage of Bramptonians really work here in the city of Brampton. So we need to create that balanced growth. And the way we're going to have to do it, number one, is to strengthen the existing businesses that we have here. We've got to develop and really focus on entrepreneurship. We can't stand around waiting for big companies to come. We will try to attract them, work as hard as possible but we have the brains and the talents here to develop, and we should encourage entrepreneurship. Youth engagement, they're a future. It's critical that this is not just a cliche, but we need to develop a sense of self-identity of our young people and a sense of community in our young people. I'm committed to that. Restoration of confidence back into local government, we see what's going on. And that is why, for me, I will move a motion on day one to limit the terms of council and mayor in the city of Brampton. We don't need people who are park themselves in our city, in politics, and take it as a career. Because public servant would become irrelevant when politics becomes a career. So it's extremely important. Our seniors, for sure. In wards 9 and 10 is the highest concentration of seniors, and we need to start focusing on our seniors. We need to adjust communities to accommodate a quality of life for our seniors. That stand 3 or 4 of my priorities at this point. Thank you very much for the question.
Thanks, Gordon. Steve, your turn.
Yes, thank you. My 3 most important concerns, frankly, first one is accountability. And accountability includes personal behavior of council members, personal spending patterns of council members, and it also goes further because those bad examples that we're now seeing have gone into the tendering process. The tendering process for City Hall is before the courts, and I'm not sure we'll ever get the truth of what's happened there. But I am committed to, quite frankly, find the truth and let citizens know what actually happened with the competitive bidding process. We need to change that and go back to the old-fashioned tendering and open tenders and those kinds of things. We also need to end sole source purchases. So somebody's a good friend to somebody, they can sell and continue to sell and continue to sell to the city. That has to end. That is not equitable, it's not fair, and we don't even know if we're getting good pricing from that kind of process. So that's all about accountability. We also need to look at congestion. I was a little late getting here today because the 410 was busy again at 10 to 7. And why was it busy? Yes, it's raining, but it's quite frankly, the 410 doesn't have the capacity to handle the traffic coming to Brampton every night or going down in the morning. We need to deal with those things. We need to look at the traffic lights in the city. We need to put in smart traffic lights, which use a video camera and a computer to learn traffic patterns and make adjustments, and we'll do that at major intersections. We need to stop people trying to go across Steeles from having 4 different traffic lights in 14 seconds. It's just ridiculous what we put everyone through. We need GO Transit all day long. I want to talk to Metrolinx about that and see what the delay is and get it going. I'd like to propose that we use the other rail line in Brampton, the old CP line or the Orangeville Railroad line, and run GO trains down through that line into the line going through central Mississauga down at Mavis, and run those into if the issue is that the GO train line that we know doesn't have capacity.
Thanks, Steve. John?
As my campaign is called Back to Basics, again, I will go back to my first priority, being the waste management program that the region is going forward with, and how desperately I very much want to see that change and become an incredible opportunity for the city of Brampton to stand on its own 2 feet, going well into the future, and not being dictated to, but bargaining from a position of strength going forward, to have the revenue to take care of its own infrastructure. Build the hospitals, build the community centers, repair the community centers, the swimming pools, the hockey rinks, everything that we need to use every day, seniors meeting places, et cetera, bike lanes, whatever you want to build, we're going to need the money from somewhere. And something that was taught to me very early on in life: where there's muck, there's money. Using the waste from other municipalities to bring in much-needed revenue into the city, so that we do not have to rely on businesses, we do not have to rely on individual taxpayers to foot the bill for all of the capital costs that we're going to experience in the future. to me only makes just sense. Okay. The second thing that I would like to take care of is certainly the quality of life for the people of Brampton. Food, shelter, and warmth are the three basic needs that every human being deserves, and I will provide that for every single Bramptonian through the Back to Basics program. The third thing that I will accomplish certainly is to relook at the overall plan for the city and ensure that we're not just throwing good money after bad on projects that don't need to be started or need to be taken in a different direction. Thank you kindly.
Thanks, John. Bob, your turn.
Yeah, the way I see it, we have a number of objectives, and all those objectives work together. One improves the other one, and travel time is a big thing that makes the city attractive, and if the time's too long, makes it unattractive. And if we want to bring business here, so that we can reduce travel times, because we have a live-work situation, they have to make it attractive. So it works together. If one helps the other one. Once we make it live-work, we don't have to travel as much. We reduce travel times. And if we reduce travel times, we can attract industry to make a live-work community. Other things that could make it attractive would be the hospital we've been talking about. We could try a university. I think that could give Brampton pizzazz. There's a number of cities that are smaller than Brampton and have universities, and we don't. And we could easily have one, and that would attract high-paying jobs to Brampton, which would be an advantage. You don't have to drive downtown Toronto to get a good job. Another thing, of course, is Safe City. We have a Safe City movement in Brampton, and I've always supported it, and I still do, and I believe in it. And we should continue to work to make Brampton the safest city in Canada. Another thing that we could do, and it always works with industries, is energy costs. There are ways to reduce energy costs, and I would be in support of those as well. And thank you for the question.
Thanks, Bob. Question number 4 will go to Garnet. And before I say a question, in that question, area means either you can consider it as the geographical area or a specialty or any service. So the question is, what areas of Brampton do you think an opportunity for development and bringing jobs to city? So it could be both ways.
Yeah. Without really naming a specific quadrant, we still have lands available in some of the peripheral areas of Brampton. And one of the things that I'm concerned about is that, and as I talked about having a balanced growth, is that we have somehow allowed development in some of the critical areas in the city of Brampton. We have major arteries, areas such as Highway 50, where movements of transportation and logistic can be much easier. We need to begin to reserve and preserve those land for future development of businesses. We have areas such as Mayfield. Again, we're talking about having an highway coming through the Mayfield area connecting back to 401. So we must begin to be vigilant about development in those areas. Those areas are very good for jobs. So in general, really, one may not speak specifically for area, but again, where do we position those businesses, those potential businesses that will come in? And when we go out to source company coming in, where will we point them to? And so it's all about putting it close to the major highways or close to the major arteries where truck movements can take place. Because once you're talking about business, then you're talking about logistics, you're talking about transportation, we can run into the same problem we're having right now with gridlock. So it's all about being strategic. And for me, being always involved in being innovative and working with what we have. You know, I'm also will be there to be vigilant about those areas in our community.
Thanks, Garnet. Steve?
Yes, the area that, that intrigues me, quite frankly, is not a university. A university, to me, may bring some well-paid jobs, but I'm more interested, and I guess maybe it's my school board experience, is I'm interested in the product that comes out. So a university that turns out more Bachelor of Arts that can't find jobs and have to go to Sheridan College or Mohawk College to get an actual applicable skill doesn't make a lot of sense. There's lots of universities near us in Brampton. I think what Brampton should look for is to focus on the high-skilled trades and, quite frankly, build a not build, but sponsor a high-skilled trade school. So a school that can take someone right out of high school and put them into those skilled trades, particularly those ones that we need in Brampton. We're constantly, you know, Brampton's going to continue to build, so we need more people who have the trades that they can use. Plumbers, electricians, but more than that, we used to have a vibrant aerospace industry. We still have some left, but part of the reason we don't have it is we don't turn out aerospace technicians who can do that kind of work. So we need to get apprenticeship programs going after you finish that trade school. Automotive, we have Chrysler in town. We have Ford in town. We really should be turning out new apprenticed students who can go instantly into those places and become the next wave of high-paid workers in the city of Brampton. If we can keep them in town, they're going to stay in town. And those are the industries that generate not just one job, but every one job generates 5 or 6 jobs.
Thanks, Steve. John, your turn.
Well, certainly what I would like to see happen is right in wards 3 and 4, there is a lot of heavy industry that quite frankly could use some redevelopment. But more so right along the Queen Street corridor, right out to Airport Road. We need to redevelop, rethink what we're doing in this particular area. With my Back to Basics plan, lowering our hydro rates, getting the businesses back into Brampton, it will attract the businesses that we want, the new high-tech jobs, manufacturing jobs. They will all come back because we'll finally be on a level playing ground with our neighbors in Manitoba, Quebec, and down in New York State. And as far as our hydro rates are concerned, we're paying double what they are, and that's quite frankly unacceptable. That's why a lot of the jobs are leaving. We got to get them back. So certainly the redevelopment in those areas will happen. It will take some time, but it will happen once we get our costs of doing business under control. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. Bob?
Yeah, thank you for the question. There's a number of things that attract employment to any municipality. One of the things that attracts employment is good highways. And we do have 2 new highways planned, the GTA West Corridor and the 427 extension. Both of those roads are mostly not in Brampton, but they're right near Brampton. And it's sometimes better to be near the highway than on the highway, because when you're on the highway, you can't get, harder to get to it. So we could take advantage of those 2 new roads, GTA West Corridor, which is going to run across in the north, in the south end of Caledon, which of course at the north end of Brampton, and then 427 runs up the east side of Brampton in the west part of Vaughan, and that highway 427 has already got an industrial area planned beside it. Across the north, we have some industrial to take advantage of the GTA West Corridor on the east-west link, but it also is lined to go south along the the west boundary of Brampton, over where Maple Lodge Farms is. And there's a big industrial basin there already planned. And I see those as great opportunities for adding employment to Brampton. Thanks for the question.
Thanks, Bob. Martin?
Hi. I would concentrate on two areas. And, one of the first areas I'd concentrate, which I haven't heard anyone really reference to. So the Canadian government signed a trade agreement with the European Union. Essentially, one of the major features is it allows companies in Europe to bid on public procurement opportunities with municipalities. So one of the things I would like to do hasn't been completely ratified. It's been signed. But I'd like to fight because one of the issues that you have is it's one of the only really local stimulus that a municipality has. So when they basically tender public opportunities, tender contracts, local businesses, small and medium-sized businesses can win these contracts, have economic development in our community, create jobs, save the jobs that we have. Effectively, I've not heard anyone address this issue. We'll have a major impact on municipalities. So you need someone who will be able to stand up to the federal government, stand up and lobby with other political representatives to ensure that this does not go through, that this does not get ratified, because this is not good for our municipalities. So one thing is protecting jobs. Second thing is how do you foster innovation? So innovation is key. The knowledge, the pace of innovation across the world is really leading key sectors and really developing key business areas. So one of the areas, and let's be pragmatical, I think all these ideas of, one thing of reducing hydro rates, it's not a city competency. It's not, the region is very limited on how can they influence hydro rates. So let's really be real and be pragmatical in what we're saying. And right now, one of the major issues I would say is looking at how Sheridan College is investing in real innovative programs, renewable energies. They've invested in automotive apprenticeships and technologies. That fosters a lot of that, what one of the candidates had mentioned, foster the skill sets that we'll be able to use by Chrysler, creating these synergies of what we have here in the community. So this is being pragmatical, being really strategically thinking, and let's not start creating and start reaching into the sky, because we need real decision makers, and we need people at this time who are ready to take on that responsibility.
Thanks, Martin. And now we're on the last question, and the question goes to Steve. How will you make the City Hall more accountable on taxpayers' money?
I was hoping that was the question. Thank you. It's not just City Hall. Let's talk City Hall and the region together. Together, whoever sits at the table, which one of the five of us sits at the table? That's $4.1 billion that we will help control. And we need to ensure that the services that each and every one of us need and value are there. And we can't do it just by raising taxes, because that just doesn't work. We need to take the waste out. I've talked about taking the waste out of our construction projects. We need to take the waste out of our tendering. We need to take the waste out of a friend of somebody getting the sole source contract repeatedly, time after time after time. That's just not fair, beyond being wasteful. It's just not fair, quite frankly. And that's what I've been doing for 16 years at the school board, quite frankly. I've challenged every budget. I've looked after our dollars at the school board. I can do that again at the region. I can do that again at City Hall. And it starts at the top. Everyone's right. Council needs to set the agenda of fairness, equity, and accountability. We will do that. I will do that. There are other people running all through this city that will do that. I have the experience to do that. Thank you.
John?
Well, in as far as accountability, and specifically with the budget, the best person to really control spending and accountability is people that actually do the job. With my experience in performance management, I'll reach out to the city employees, the city managers, and say, all right, you have a specific budget to work with. I need you to save money. So they have their budget. If they can come up at the end of the year and they have not spent their entire budget, as I've mentioned in my Back to Basics plan, a certain percentage of that money will go into a pool that will be paid out in a bonus to the city employees at the end of the year, but only a certain percentage, not all of it. The rest of the money that has been saved goes back into our reserves. Next year, the budget doesn't grow, the budget shrinks, okay? And while this will work for a certain period of time, at some point in time, yes, your costs will go up, but we'll have money left in the reserves to bolster for emergencies, et cetera, et cetera. And as far as accountability is concerned, everywhere I've worked, whether it be Chrysler, Magna, et cetera, anytime I've had an expense account, if you're caught dipping into your expense account, guess what? You get fired, okay? So if I'm elected as regional councillor and I'm caught going out golfing on the city's tab, I'm caught hosting a dinner party that I shouldn't be doing, fire me. That's what I'm saying. So I will say, you know what, I'll sign a contract that says if I'm caught or anybody else is caught, they're fired. Simple as that. There's no room for what's going on right now in all levels of government, and I want to change how government works. It's all part of my plan. I want everybody to have a look at it. Thank you kindly.
Thanks, John. Bob?
Thank you. Accountability. In the earlier elections, I don't remember accountability being a major issue. It's become a major issue, and all of us sitting at the table here tonight know that, and we're all running on accountability. And accountability is up to the individual, of course, but then there should be rules, and we'll have to make rules. If I'm elected, then I would be putting on the agenda right at the beginning that we have to have strict rules that govern how much you're going to spend and how you're going to spend it, and what happens if you don't follow the rules. So that's one thing, and that's the actual use of the funds that are available to councillors for their expenses. But of course, the bigger cost is the contracts that are led, and that money, we have to have strict rules for that govern that as well, so that all bids are reviewed, and we make sure that the lowest bidder does get the job, provided they're competent, and if they aren't competent, they shouldn't be running in the first place. So that's what I think, and thank you for the question.
Thanks, Bob. Martin?
So the first thing I'd like to say, I think it's irresponsible if anyone sits here saying that there won't be, they'll cut property taxes or they'll try to maintain, expenses. If you just take the rate of inflation over the next 4 years, there's going to be marginal increases. So the idea of that just to simply, slash and cut all our programs and services, and we'll find, cut the fat. These are great terms, but it's not realistic. It's not pragmatical. Essentially, I think Bramptonians have come to understand, especially after the last 4 to 8 years, Bramptonians, I think, are willing to mild increases if they knew that their money was being spent wisely, if they still have the luxury of having proper programs and services, if their children can get into city-run programs and services at a reasonable rate, if their seniors have access to space and have access to, recreational facilities. I think Bramptonians understand when there's value for money. And certainly how you get value for money is one of the first things is, being realistic about our budget process. If you look at our budget is a highly convoluted, complex document. One of the first things I like to introduce is have a simplification of our budget, understand so a citizen can look at the budget and understand exactly where are we spending, where are we going to saving, where are we investing. So I think essentially building the confidence of the taxpayer But again, I think it's very irresponsible that I've been hearing how people don't address the issues that, you simply can't, reduce. It's provincial legislation that municipalities essentially have to have balanced budgets. So there's going to be a balanced budget. But essentially, where do they balance the budget? It's mild increases in property taxes. You try to limit it, you try to control it.
Thanks, Martin. Got it.
First and foremost, let me say that to serve the people of Brampton or any municipality at that level as your city councillors or regional councillor or mayor is a tremendous honor and tremendous responsibility that comes with trust and integrity. And I remember when I was in Brampton, when I was a city councillor, one of my main concern was the efficiencies in City Hall. I think that there's just too much overlap of departments. There are 3 people doing the job that one person could do. So we're going to have to look at the city of Brampton, its workforce. I'm not using the word I'm going to fire people, but we need to make sure that the workforce and the departments are efficient to begin with. As leaders, we need to comb through every single department to ensure that the taxpayers' money are spent effectively. That's one of the main things. We're paying too much taxes, and so we have to talk about where we are right now. Bramptonians are paying too much taxes, and so we have to come up with a way to be able to balance our funds and to balance our growth. But the other key aspect is how do we make sure that us, the councillors, are accountable with the money that we're given to spend. And we have heard all the scandal. A lot of people are talking about accountability, transparency. The bottom line is what we're seeing is symptomatic of allowing individuals to be in power for too long unchecked. And without strong measure, you're simply seeing a human problem here. And that's why I believe in term limits for council and mayors.
Thanks, Garnet. With this, we finish our question session. And now we are on our closing remarks, starting with Steve. 1 minute.
Thank you. I believe that municipal governments must provide valued infrastructure. That's water, sewers, roads, public health in the case of the city and the regions, services to residents. If we don't do that, then we should not exist. We are the closest government to residents of Brampton. And I am committed to ensuring that your tax dollars that you contribute to the city and region are well spent. I believe that our role is to ensure that we provide the right services and infrastructure in the right way, on time, the first time, meeting the right needs equitably, in the right quantity and quality, and at the right price. I promise to work in an ethical, transparent, and accountable manner. I don't know any other way to work. I thank you for your consideration of me as your regional councillor for Wards 3 and 4. My website for more information.
Thanks, Steve. It's only 1 minute, so we have to roll on to John.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to all the gentlemen that are here on this table. This has been a very rewarding experience for me personally, and thank you to Brampton Matters for bringing us all here. This has actually been very enjoyable, and I thank you for this opportunity. Going forward, this is my first opportunity to run for any elected office. I'm doing so because of deep personal convictions. What I want to bring to the city of Brampton is a new level of prosperity for all its citizens, not just one particular group, but everybody. I want to see everybody succeed in life. I want to see everybody be happy. That's why I'm running. Certainly, this experience, this first experience for political office for me has been challenging at many different levels. But I'm just hoping that everybody understands I'm out here to represent everybody, the silent majority of the population.
Thanks, John. Bob?
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say my name is Bob Lackey. Everybody knows me as that, but on the ballot, it's going to say Robert Lackey. So I'd just like you to know that and don't get confused. Robert Lackey is Bob Lackey that you know and see here tonight. But that's the rules. And we, of course, are committed to following the rules. I'd like to thank Brampton Matters for hosting us this evening, because I feel privileged. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I'm sincere about that. And it gives us a chance to talk about our favorite things like the hospital, live-work community, reasonable priced hydro, more jobs, how to attract large capital-intensive industry, how to attract small business. Both are necessary. And thank you again.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks.
Martin?
My name is Martin Medeiros, and I'm essentially a product of what Brampton is. I was born and raised in Brampton. I speak 5 languages. I've traveled the world. And I'm in tune and really understand the fabric of what makes up Brampton today. It is diverse. It is a city that deals with challenges. So someone like myself, who really represents what Brampton is, being a son of Portuguese immigrants who've come here and worked hard in manufacturing jobs, I want to bring the ideals and values of my community. I want to make that significant contribution of what Portuguese immigrants have brought to Brampton. We've never had political representation. We've never had a voice. We've made a significant contribution to the city that we love. We bring hard work. We bring honesty, value. Just think of your neighbor and how much he helps you. That's what I want to bring. But essentially, what your family wants is what my family wants. I worry about my parents. I worry about seniors. I worry about my children. I worry about youth. So this is essentially why I'm running.
Thanks, Martin. Garnet?
I want to thank you for opening your doors to me and for engaging me concerning the issues here in Brampton. I've heard you. I've heard your concern. I've heard your concern about the uncontrolled growth, about the rising infrastructure cost, that youth and seniors, young families are at risk of being taxed out of their homes. You're concerned with escalating youth violence and the credibility of your politician. I come to you with experience, with one who have a track record of getting the job done. I will hit the ground running for you, and with the complexity and the challenges in the region of Peel and the city of Brampton, what you need is someone who is proven. Thank you so much. Check my website, garnetmanning.com. I would be honored to be your regional councillor for wards 3 and 4.
Thanks, Garnet. Thank you very much, gentlemen. On behalf of Brampton Resident Matter, I thank you very much for taking your time today to come in and share your views and ideas with us, and with which will be posted on to YouTube, media, and everyone will be seeing it. And we wish you best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you.